wanted to do before I actually get into the game. I did a little bit more research before this stream because I was trying to find some of the interviews I read with Akira Yamaoka where he talked about creating the music of Silent Hill. And there's one in particular I was looking for that I was unable to find. But I found one that was very similar, so maybe I'm just misremembering, and this is the one that I read. Um, uh, there was either an interview or some event he did back in 2010, shortly after the release of Silent Hill Shattered Memories, uh, where he talked about like kind of his philosophy that he approached the music for Silent Hill with. And I'm just going to read a quote from that article that gets into some of the stuff I find really interesting about his approach. Yamaoka's theory for controlling a person's emotions is based around psychology. He explained how humans feel unstable when they turn clockwise, and that there's a psychological uncertainty there. Understanding what humans naturally fear is something that is used in games to create anxiety. Having worked on the Silent Hill series since its inception, Yamaoka talked about how he would bring in sound 3 frames ahead to induce intensity or anxiety. The opposite would result when audio comes after the visual cues, which instead provides security and comfort. Contrasting sounds also leave a lasting impression on a listener. An example that he used was to introduce a beautiful piano melody followed by a frightening sound. Each sound becomes more vivid, and the same trick is used in visuals as well. Based on Yamaoka's audio research, he explained that when the brain hears a sound that is followed by silence, the sound remains even after it has been cut off, which leaves a powerful impact on the listener. It's the lack of sound that impresses humans more than the beautiful music, he said. So that is from a GameSpot article from March 11th, 2010, so almost 15 years ago now. And the things that I really wanted to point out were the way he talks about not just the music, but the sound design, because he was the main sound designer for the early games, and how he's not just thinking about, oh, what notes do I want to use, but also what things are just going to throw people off and unsettle them even further. We're making a horror game, and I want to make sure it's unsettling and disturbing, and what are the ways I can do that with the sound design and the music. And so there may be certain things that I talk about in the soundtrack today that speak to that specifically. The article that I was trying to find, he also talked about how, like, that contrasting sounds where he might have a pretty piano melody but bring in like a super crunchy industrial beat to create that 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 dissonance, that contrast, and that sort of disturbing, unsettling feeling of like, wait a second, these things don't go together. And he does that all over the Silent Hill series to great effect. All right, now that I've gotten that out of the way, oh, hi, I'm not a mimic. Welcome. Cleo is saying, I feel like this is the answer to my question about why is there pretty music while Eddie is vomiting. Perhaps. Yeah, it's an interesting thing to think about, and I've got more to say about that particular piece when we get to that point, which we might tonight. I don't think we will. I think we'll definitely get to Woodside tonight, but I don't know if we'll get as far as meeting Eddie. But yeah, let's get into it. Once again, here are the warnings, the content warnings for Silent Hill 2. This game contains content and themes of domestic violence, emotional abuse, sexual assault, suicide, mental illness, child abuse, and other mature themes. And we're going to be talking about some of that stuff. Maybe not tonight, but in future streams. Alright, let me make sure my... yeah. Let's get into it. How's the game volume now in comparison to my my voice? I could probably bring it up a little bit. Yeah, I got the headset mic. headset audio. Probably bring the headset audio up a little bit because I think that's where I'm getting the game volume from. If at any point like the game is overtaking my voice or it's too quiet, please let me know in the chat and I will make the adjustments on the fly. All right, let's get back to Southvale. Alright, we're in Neely's bar, and I think I might have read this note last... No, I think I might have saved this, actually, because I wanted to start off this whole stream fresh with, like, starting with this new part of the story. So we got to Neely's bar. This door is locked. The key of sorrow is not going to work on this door. It looks nothing like it. There's the window here with the iconic, there was a hole here, it's gone now. A lot of people have talked a lot about this particular phrase. Oh, the dog head again. Oh, I'm wearing the dog head. I didn't even realize. That shouldn't be there. Did I load with the correct save? 219. Yeah, current game. Okay. I don't remember putting the dog head back on. I had not intended to play with that, but okay. I'm just gonna take that off real quick. Maybe I was showing it off last time and I forgot. But yeah, there was a hole here. It's gone now. I feel like I was. Yeah. You know what? I can throw the dog head on for this part of the game because there's no. I'll take it off when we actually solve the jukebox puzzle, because that's when I want it to be all serious and moody. I feel like I was reading something recently, either like a quote from Masaru Ito about what the holes were supposed to represent in Silent Hill, and why this says there was a hole here, it's gone now, and I'm blanking on it, and I don't think I'm going to be able to find it very easily. If anyone wants a screenshot, this is beautiful. I didn't even realize, like, he's got the little belt around his neck. Like a little leash. That is going to make certain members of the online community very happy. Anyway, one of the theories, the first theories I remember seeing about this was that the hole might be talking about grief. Like, there was a hole here, it's gone now, and this was written by maybe a James that got a happier ending to his story, maybe the Leave ending, or another person in Silent Hill who went through some sort of harrowing journey and was able to resolve whatever issue they were going through. I wish I could remember what I had read the other day about the holes, but I'm sure it's somewhere in like the Book of Lost Memories or something, the official book of like lore that Konami put out after Silent Hill 3. But let's take a look at what's underneath this. The dog head is too much. We've got a jukebox. And we've got a broken record. Or half a broken record. And this is part of why I am going to take the dog head off, is because it gets in the way of actually being able to examine the items. Which is friggin' hilarious. Yeah, Cleo actually had a lot of really cool things to say about the jukebox in her playthrough. She just put up the first video of her playthrough on YouTube. I think her YouTube is Cleolinda or Cleolinda Jones. Definitely check that out, because she's got so many awesome things to say, and it's much better researched than my stream is going to be. Yeah, it's Cleveland on YouTube. Um, but I have to say, as a musician and as a lover of music, when they revealed this as a puzzle early in the game, I was delighted that they were uh, centering the music in this way. Uh, and we'll have more to talk about that when we have all the things we need to fix it. Because currently, don't I need the rest of that record, and I need a bunch of items to make that jukebox work. Since I've got the dog head off now, let's actually take a closer look at the record. Broken vinyl record, half a broken vinyl single, and we can see the word home at the end of it. Alright, so to start off this puzzle, we've got this note here. I don't know what got into him. He just started smashing the thing. Had to throw him out. He ran off, cried he'd fix everything. I gathered up what I could, still haven't found one of the buttons. Half the record is still lodged inside, but the other part's missing. Figure he must have taken it. Come to think of it, he did run towards Groovy. Anyway, maybe go check up on him? See if he's alright. He lives over at Saul by the pharmacy, apartment 9. So that basically gives us nearly all the information we need to get the jukebox working. I'm trying to think about stuff that is different from the original game, because that's something that I can provide that Cleo cannot, because she didn't play this game 20 years ago, the original. But yeah, this whole kind of like subplot of this guy who broke the jukebox, broke the record, and is just having a time of it. Yeah, this is entirely new. I'm trying to remember what was here instead, but I have not played. I played the original once in 2006, and I have not played it again since. So it is a failing of mine. I'm sorry, I cannot provide more information on that, but maybe things will come to me as we explore South Vale. Why do I keep hitting that when I mean to hit the map? Or items. Okay, map. Jeez. So, the way I'm going to do this is, we're at Neely's Bar right now. I'm going to take a right and just basically follow the bounds of the world to make sure that we check as many things as we can. Because, like I said, I am trying to get all the notes, I'm trying to get all the glimpses of the past, and this to me is the most logical way to do this, to just walk the streets. I've got to stop doing that. And this is the easiest way to ensure that I check everything. We've got people nearby, but I'm not going to worry about that unless they actively come at me, bro. Got the post office. There's something about the like older, almost like colonial buildings, like with the pillars and stuff, that I really vibe with in Silent Hill, because it speaks to the location it's supposed to be, which is like New England, and that history there. Magical envelopes. I remember you seeing this, Cleo, and being like, what does that mean? And literally, the letter. It's clearly a reference to the magical conveyance of the envelope that James got his letter from Marion. Magical. Yes, it's from Mary's letter disappearing as well. There are actually other games that have different little things having to do with the like letters and envelopes. There are a bunch of things in the Western Silent Hill games that they tried to like make a thing to varying degrees of success. I don't blame them for it, and they're not necessarily poorly executed in certain cases, but I'm also like, do your own thing. Silent Hill doesn't have to be all those same tropes. In fact, one of the things I appreciate about the first 3 Silent Hill games is that they really tried to do different things, even when Konami's like, hey, Silent Hill 3 has to be a direct sequel to the original game. But specifically, there in Silent Hill Downpour, there is a mailman character who gives Murphy a letter, and I can't even remember what is in the letter. But he pops up there, and then that mailman character also pops up in the PS Vita game they made, Silent Hill Book of Memories, which I never played. Part of me wishes I could play it kind of for the lulz, but it was a dungeon crawler, like a Diablo-style video game that felt like a very poor match for Silent Hill, but since a bunch of my friends play dungeon crawlers, I kind of wish they had done a PC port so that we could just try it out and see what it was like. But yeah, at the beginning of that game, you get a package from that same mailman they used in Downpour, and it is the Book of Memories itself, where you can rewrite things, and then it changes things or something. I don't mean to throw so much shade at Book of Memories, but it was not well received. It did not sell many copies, and that is part of why it is basically unplayable at this point, unless you have a PS Vita, which the PS Vita itself was not well received. So, a bunch of different reasons why you can't really play that. Oh, hey there, little bugger. Oh, there's 2 of you. Okay. I'm really quick gonna make sure I have my notes in front of me, because there may be other things that I want to talk about that I don't want to forget. One moment. Okay. Wait, hold on. Okay. Here we go. We do have to make sure we go back to the bookstore at some point, but if I'm doing this sweep like I say I am, then I'm sure we'll hit it. I think it's back closer to where we came out of the first combat. Crap, I need to have the chat up though. Wait a second. Please hold. Thank you for your patience. Okay. Guess I can do this. Yes, that works. Okay, so creepers. Yes, Cleo. The creepers, the little bugs that you just saw on the ground, are from Silent Hill 1. Someone asked Masahiro on Twitter a while ago, I think, like, oh, what do all the monsters represent, or like, are all of them connected to James's story? And he was like, yeah, well, all of them except for the creepers. Those were just supposed to be a reference to the bugs that you come across in Silent Hill 1, the original one. Okay, so creepers are from Silent Hill 1. We'll send them back. Yeah, they're just so annoying in this game. But they're also used in the movie, the Christoph Gans Silent Hill movie from 2006, where Pyramid Head just has a swarm of them trailing him, like almost like and they function almost like the scarab beetles in the Mummy movies. There were a lot of like action horror movies in the early 2000s that saw the scarab beetle stuff in the Mummy movies and was like, oh, we should do something like that. And the 2006 Silent Hill movie was one of them. I hear ya. Come on out. Where are you? There you are. Oh, you're not quite hitting it, James. There we go. Okay. Alright, we've got 2 notes here. And another James corpse. You will see. Sooner or later, you will see. And that, to me, looks like a vague image of Pyramid Head. I I'm trying to remember in the original how early you get any sort of reference to Pyramid Head, and I want to say that it is like the first time you see him or hear about him or there's any reference to him is when you see him behind the bars in Woodside. The remake, they've really taken advantage of introducing like these little references to him that you wouldn't pick up on if you had never played the game before, and I appreciate it. But yeah, I am assuming that this is, yeah, he's got a pointy head and he's red. That's Pyramid Head. And then we've got this note over here. Checked from 000 to 4013. Took almost 2 hours. Had to run. Checked from 4014 to 4439. Had to run again. I feel like I'm so close now. I just know it. Which is a beautiful, a beautiful little reference to early like adventure games and stuff, where sometimes you did just have to brute force number puzzles, which is like, that's one of those things where people talk about like, oh, games used to be so much more difficult and now they're like for babies nowadays, and it's like, okay, there's things where it's like, oh, maybe a puzzle was really obtuse but in an interesting way, and then there's, you're just making a miserable gaming experience for the players, so maybe let's not do that. But that's kind of a fun way to be like, hey, we're going to throw one of these in here. It's for an area you don't have to go to, but if you want to try it, we'll just see how many numbers you have to go through before you actually get it. And thankfully, on standard, it's not that many. I don't remember what the number is off the top of my head, but I think it's only like 4 or 5 away from the last number that the writer of the note tried. Okay. And we're moving, and we're walking. I told Cleo that listening to her talk about South Vale, it felt like we were with a tour guide, and I kind of like having those vibes. And to your left, you will see a lying figure trying to kill you. Yeah, I know you know it, Cleo. I kind of like the idea of just brute forcing it to show that, like, yeah, no, it's for real. But we'll see when we get there. Okay. That was pointless. Where are we? Are we at Happy Burger? We're at Happy Burger! Okay. Just make sure that we haven't missed anything important. Yeah, so we've gone down Sanders Street, made our way back, and now we're going to go into the Happy Burger, which has some items and some enemies. There's some blood on the ground. There's some little Easter eggy type notes to find. It is so dark. I am looking through the window in this door. If people weren't able to tell what I was doing, and it's saying, hey, look, you can get in here through that little cubby over there. Just go around that way. Nothing bad will happen. Tantalizing. Is there something else you're looking at, James? No, he's just looking at the door. That is another thing that they maintained lovingly from the original, is that James will turn his head in the direction of interesting things that you can read or pick up, and that is super useful in a game that didn't have little like icons for items like they have in this. Feel the craving? You just can't help it? Go for it! Happy Burger. What you need is what you get. On the run, grab something to go. Cravings could refer to a lot of things. Desire, there is that desire to find Mary. It could refer to the desire for Maria later. Maria, oh my gosh. The train of thought that my brain just went through. It's like, oh, it's like Maria's the burger that you're trying to get. And then I flash back to one of your Twilight recaps, Cleo, where you talked about how, like, why does she smell like Frisia? If she's delicious, maybe shouldn't she smell like a hamburger or something? Like, Edward talks about Bella smelling like flowers, and he's like, oh, it's so tantalizing and like delicious. And it's like, wait, if humans are like food to you, shouldn't it smell like food, not flowers? Oh man, good times, memories. uh, but in any case, Happy Burger. I don't remember if they had Happy Burger in Silent Hill 2, but they do have it in Silent Hill 3. Happy Burger is the restaurant that uh, Heather starts out the game in, if I'm remembering correctly. Um, and we've got creatures. The cheeseburger of pain. Oh, hold on. Maybe I should want to turn the gamma up. I'm just brute forcing this. Oh. Just one moment. How are the graphics for you guys? I think my monitor is actually just darker than I'd like it to than it needs to be, but since I don't want to back out of the game and try to adjust my monitor settings, yeah, I'll do gamma calibration and bring it up a little bit so that it's easier to see. Because yeah, before we get the flashlight, it's just it's so dark. Let's see how that looks. Oh yeah, that's better. Okay. Oh no, frame rate. Can't do anything about that. Oh, I need to take a health drink. Come on, James. Take the health drink. There we go. Oh, come on. This is what I mean when I'm like you've got a better handle on the combat than I do, Cleo, because you got like the rhythm down, and I'm just like, I'm just gonna hit it until it goes down, and if I need to dodge, I'll dodge. I'm so much less systematic. Is there anything? For some reason, I thought you could get into this cash register, but perhaps not. We've got posters on the wall, 99-cent sandwiches, Queen special. Hey, welcome to the chat, Dave. Good to see you. As you can see, James is not doing great, and I don't feel like using a health potion yet. A health drink. But yeah, we're here in Happy Burger, having a happy time, and it's totally not going to be worth it because I'm going to need to use health drinks. Walk it off, buddy. Yep. Them Dave in chat, the host of Salt Circle RPG on his Twitch channel. Are you currently streaming any games, Dave, or are you in a break between games? But yeah, I have been in several of the games on Dave's channel, and they were a very good time. Some of my favorite RPG experiences, actually. Maybe one-shots in the future. So yeah, if you like watching live play tabletop RPGs, follow Them Dave at twitch.tv/ThemDave. Okay, yeah, I'm just gonna take the health drink. Not at all, Dave. Okay, continuing our circumnavigation of Southvale. Oh, we've got the newspapers that Cleo pointed out. Woodside Apartments severely flooded. I totally missed that the first time I played this. That is interesting. I'm wondering what it's specifically in reference to. The silent news. Dave says, so for those of us who don't know much about Silent Hill, what's our goal right now? Right now, there is a jukebox in Neely's bar that we are trying to get working. There is a record that we have half of the vinyl record of it, so we need to find the other piece of that and something to glue it together. We need to find a coin so that we can use the jukebox, and then we need to find a button that will allow us to choose which record we're actually listening to in the jukebox. Me personally, my goals are doing that, but also talking about like some of the references to other games. When we complete the jukebox puzzle, talking about the music that plays there, and yeah, discussing whatever really floats my boat, and also trying to get achievements like this. This is Saul Apartments, is it? Like getting all of the notes and all the glimpses of the past, which are references to the original Silent Hill 2. Yeah, we're at Saul Street Apartments. So, this is another section that is entirely new to the remake, and it is kind of a little tutorial on. I feel like it's Woodside Apartments for like with training wheels. It's like, hey, Woodside is pretty big. Here's a little bit more manageable of an area so that you can get used to the idea of navigating a large building. We've got our map here, and we've got one of these annoying little buggers. But yeah, the ultimate goal for James in this game, Dave, is to find his wife Mary, whom he received a letter from that said, hey, I'm waiting for you in Silent Hill. And James is like, wait, what? But you're dead. You died of that damn disease 3 years ago. I'm going to say it that way every time. Like, those opening lines are just so... They're so memorable. I forget, Dave, have you played Silent Hill 2 or any of the Silent Hill games? Got a bed. Kitchen area. Key. Apartment key 5. That tells us, oh, we need to go to apartment 5. And we've got a note. Apartment 5 left his key. Says there's a leak from upstairs. Gotta check it out. A leak distinct from the flooding in Woodside Apartments. This is like this, among other places that we've already been to, is teaching you like, hey, doors that were locked before, if there's not a key for it, then you'll probably be able to unlock it from the other side, so that if you ever have to go back there for whatever reason, you can do that easily. Yeah, that's actually one of the things that I was recalling today, or referenced today in something I was reading on Reddit. People talked about how one of the criticisms of the Silent Hill 2 remake that people have, that fans of the original game have, is that some of the other worlds look a little too much like the other world as it's portrayed in like Silent Hill 1 and 3, and as a result the movie as well, since that was directly based on the first game. The kind of like rust and red and metal, a lot of people are like, that is specifically like Alessa's other world that she created in the first game, and James is more based around water and damp and moisture and leaks, as it were. Which there are definitely still parts of this game that really emphasize that aesthetic. Me personally, I don't mind that, like, the first Otherworld sequence you have, it is more like the traditional Silent Hill 1 Otherworld, because, number one, I love that aesthetic. I think it's really cool. And number two, it suggests to me like, oh, now that they've done that, they already have assets that they can reuse for Silent Hill 1 and 3 whenever they remake those, because it feels like pretty almost it's all but confirmed at this point that Bloober Team is working on another Silent Hill remake, and I would be very. It's either going to be 1, 3, or 4. Either that, or maybe they're making a new original game, which in any case, whatever they're doing, they're probably doing another Silent Hill game, and they've got a bunch of assets they used for this game that they can reuse. Yeah, so there was something recently. There was an article recently about how Konami and Bloober Team signed a deal for a game referenced as Project G, and I would be very surprised if it is not another Silent Hill game, whether it's another remake or an original game. A lot of people have also been saying like, "Oh, Project G for Gillespie, Alessa Gillespie. It must be a Silent Hill 1 remake." And there were references to a Project H, which they're like, "Oh, Project Heather, that's Silent Hill 3." I don't know if there's actually a Project H, but also it might just be called Project G because Silent Hill F is a thing that's coming out, and so it's like, well, this is the next thing that's coming out after that. But it seems likely that it's another remake. Yes, this is a reference to a bunch of pharmaceutical drugs. And a couple things about this. One, they are like a few letters off from some actual medications used for either like blood disease or cancer, or like, so like at least one of them is for cancer, one of them is for depression or something like that. I can't remember all this stuff. Cleo like had she when I say she researched a lot of this stuff way better than I did, I'm not lying. One thing I can say that she wouldn't know is that 451 I think is actually, and I didn't know this when I made my screen name, but I think 451 is, I learned from Reddit, is a number that is used by developers like in just puzzles in general. I think it's a reference to a puzzle like in an early adventure game. I can't remember what it is or why exactly, but I'm pretty sure or I think it might have been watching someone play it on YouTube and they talked about it, but the code for the safe in the motel later on standard, I think, is 0451, or maybe it's on hard. I can't remember. Oh man, I'm batting 1,000 with all this stuff. All right, syringe. I'm gonna use one of the syringes just to make him feel better. We will later return to the pharmacy in the Otherworld South Vale about halfway through the game, and it will not be as nice. I feel like you should be able to unlock this door from this side, but they didn't do that. Anyway. What are we doing? That's right. Okay. Can't go in here. Going upstairs. I'm gonna start over here and again do my circle of everything. 8, 7, 6, and 5, 4. Okay. So let's go to 5. I believe there's a note in here that I might have missed the first time I played the game. Or if it's not in here, it's in the next room over. But yeah, so this is supposedly the, or wait, no, not this apartment, but apartment 8 is the guy referenced in the note that we got at Neely's bar. Cleo You are not supposed to do anything but like enjoy the stream, offer tidbits if you want. If you want to offer direction, I will definitely not deny it, but I don't want you to feel like you're obligated to do anything more than enjoy the stream. Although I very much appreciate it. Um, okay, so oh yeah, and there were sounds upstairs, which everything that happened in this apartment building the first time I played this, I was just like, huh, that's weird. Huh, that's weird. I don't know why any of this is happening. Um, and I think it was you, Cleo, that brought up that might be another early reference to Pyramid Head. Like hearing him stomping around upstairs, and then there's the door upstairs where like you grab it, your hand comes back black and with black stuff on it, and you're like, what is this all about? And I think you pointed out that it kind of resembles the black ichor that is on Pyramid Head. Hold on, the black goo. What is that? It's on his arm. I feel like I missed something already. Hold on. Let me. I'm not doing my adventure game logic correctly. Before I go to a point of no return, I'm going to go up the stairs because upstairs is accessible. Oh, no it's not. Okay. Let me check my checklist really quick actually, because I should be able to find it on there too. Glimpse of the past, we got that. We got the matchbook. I think we got the Martin Street now. Where is Saul Street? Saul Street note, directly in front of the corpse, will be the first of 3 notes along a blood trail. Follow the blood trail on the floor to the next note. Follow the blood trail on the floor to the next note, directly outside the motorhome. Oh, that's on Saul Street. No. Saul Apartments. Inside the Saul Street Apartments, enter the front door. On the ground straight ahead on the right is a shelf blocking. Yeah, okay, so that's the first memo. Tenant's note. Go up the stairs to the floor above. Next to apartment 7, you can crawl through the open vent on the floor. That's what I missed. Okay. I got it. We're getting to the bottom of things. Okay. What am I doing? Notes. OBS. Now we're good. Okay. So, near apartment 7. I friggin'... I don't know why I keep saying friggin'. I said fucking the first stream. Hold on. Do the shimmy, shimmy, shimmy till the break of dawn, yeah. Yeah, this is... I completely missed this the first time I played. And I think on my second playthrough as well. I'm certain now. It's coming from that apartment upstairs. I keep telling them, why won't they do something? It's unbearable. I can feel it seeping into my skin, pushing itself into my lungs. Hey, Zeus! Welcome to the chat! We are in an apartment building and reading creepy notes. And trying to get an item, a jukebox button that will be in a place that it shouldn't. But yeah, so this references what I assume is like the leak that they keep talking about upstairs. I'll talk a little bit more about that when we get there, because I have my own theories, or at least I can talk about my first reaction to it. But we are one step closer to getting that get all the notes achievement. Alright, let's go back to apartment 5 now. We can go past the point of no return. Mirror, cracked mirrors. Oh, hey Octo. Oh, Cleo just mentioned. I forgot to mention this. Skin and lungs in the note. Mary's illness. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff in this game that is either directly dealing with James and Mary and their story, or has resonances of their stories. There, you can debate a lot of different things about them. But yeah, I can feel it seeping into my skin, pushing itself into my lungs. That could very easily be something that's meant to evoke Mary's illness. Um, so yeah, we're going through here. Going through this other wall. Cleo, I'm sure I'm going to get to this end of the stream and think of so many things I wanted to talk about and forgot. We still haven't gotten through most of South Vale and a lot of the little like posters and stuff. We're going to get to the travel agency. Oh, I'm sure that's fine. I didn't even. That's another thing I didn't notice when I first played. Is I heard the crack, I'm sure, but they actually animated the the fire escape loosening. they I they did such a fucking good job with the atmosphere in this game. Oh no! Well, there goes our way back down. More of that dark leak. And then she came and washed it all away. It all started to make sense again. It's this place. I can't fight it. Gotta get my head straight. Quick stop at Texan. Then we're going. You know what my theory about this is? So there is an ending in this game. There's the character Maria, who is a doppelganger of your wife Mary, and there is an ending of the game where you leave with her. I think this might be a reference to that ending, like she came and washed it all away, it all started to make sense again, quick stop at the Texan, and then we're going. Maybe it's like, hey, Maria's with me now, we're going, we're getting the hell out of Silent Hill, and we're just gonna get out of here. Alright. Is there anything else I can make out here? Woodside today. You can see then at the top, then I can see Woodside today towards the middle. Her. 10-6. Even though it hasn't been very long, even though it hasn't been very long, I love her. I think that's what it says kind of 2/3 of the way down the page. I cannot something my life and it be something something. Maybe not I love her, maybe it's something else. Even though it hasn't been very long, or it might be any longer. I love her, or I need her, or something like that. Something. Day my life. And then she came and washed it all away. It all started to make sense again. Then at the top of the next page, not her. It's this place. I can't fight it. Gotta get my head straight. Interesting. It's also very dark physically in my room, so maybe I should. Oh! Did you guys just hear that? That little breath? That is one of Mary's death rattle breaths. They are scattered throughout the game, and if you have never played the game before or don't know the story, it's very easy to just be like, oh, that was just a creepy noise, but it is specifically the sound that Mary made when she died. Alright. So what's the significance of that in this room? Oh, man. Also, anyone who hasn't been on the stream before or just got here, feel free to ask questions. Like the whole point of doing this stream is not just to play the game, but to dig into the lore, dig into the story, like beyond just surface level stuff. And we've got one of those trademark Akira Yamaoka drones in the background that kind of rumbles through everything. And we've got our first hole. In the original Silent Hill 2, James reaches into a hole like this in the wall in one of the apartments of Woodside Apartments and finds something in there. They decided to run with that in the remake, and now James is just putting his hand in so many places he shouldn't be. Hey, it's a jukebox button. Because that's where it belongs. So yeah, that note also referenced the Texan Cafe in case we didn't get that note outside Woodside Apartments about, like, hey, you gotta go to Texan. Because that is where one of the pieces of the puzzle is. This door has befuddled so many. We've got... So this is where the leak's been coming from. We've got some dark ichor on the floor. And when you reach for the door handle... Something smells nasty in there. And it leaves some weird black substance on James's hand. The first thing I thought when I got here on my first playthrough, patron saint of black mold. Yep. The first thought I had was, okay, there in the cinematic you do see like a chain stop the door from opening. I initially thought, oh, there is a dead body leaning up against the door, but that may not be accurate. Or maybe both are true. I definitely think like that's part of where the smell is coming from. I think there's definitely something dead in there. That'd be a fun place to fall through. Apartment 9. That's where we just were. Okay. So yeah, this is supposedly where, is this where the janitor character was supposed to be? The guy referenced in the note at, yeah, apartment 9. Neely's bar note. Yeah. Janitor, maybe it's James, maybe it's someone else. It makes me think of this beautiful tweet someone made. I can't remember who it was or the exact wording of it off the top of my head, but they were like, working as a barista in Silent Hill sucks. Like, you gotta deal with like the ooze coming from the wall. Clean that up every now and again. And then you got some guy whining to you about his wife, and it's like, dude, your whole... And he's like, where's my wife? And it's like, my guy, the whole town is your wife. We are not doing the UFO ending for this playthrough, but if we were, there would be a little eye somewhere here on the roof. Oh, yep, there it is. Letting you know, hey, you're supposed to examine the gem for the alien ending up here. Am I going for a specific ending with this playthrough? Yes. So there were 2 endings they added to the game for the remake. One of them is the Bliss ending, which I've already gotten, but I may show anyway because it's really easy to get if you know where to find the items for it. The other one is the Stillness ending, which is really interesting. I've watched it once, but I've been avoiding watching it again because I want to see how I react to it having done a full playthrough. Of the 8 endings that you can get in this game, Stillness is the only one that you have to get one of the other endings first for. A specific one, because you technically have to get one of the the main 3 endings before you can do New Game Plus and get a bunch of the new endings or the joke endings. But specifically, you have to get the in-water ending before you can get the Stillness ending. And for those in the chat, I'm going to spoil something major about the plot. So if you don't want to be spoiled about the game, like, cover your ears or turn off the sound for like 30 seconds or so. But I have made it known that this is a full spoiler playthrough, so you know what you're getting into. The in-water ending is the ending where James faces what he did and no longer denies it, accepts what, but he can't accept it, so he drives his car into Toluca Lake and kills himself. I find it very interesting that you have to get that ending before getting the Stillness ending, because there is a theory in the game about everything in Silent Hill that James experiences being a time loop of sorts. Like, the corpses on the ground that look like him might be previous iterations of himself. Some of the notes might reference him in previous iterations. And so I am playing this playthrough as if it is a sequel to the in-water ending. James drove his car into the lake, died, and then came back to start the loop again. But now there is something different. The first thing that we got contributing towards that ending is the Key of Sorrow. One thing is to dabble in it, but another is to delve into it. That is interesting. And there are a few other things you have to do in order to get that ending. Okay, where are we now? Alright. Continuing our circumnavigation of South Vale so that we don't miss anything. What time is it? 8:06. Yeah, we're probably gonna, at the pace we're going, we're probably gonna end the session tonight at the Jukebox, or maybe Woodside, probably. I'm gonna kill you first because there's about to be more of you. Look, this was the thing about the original games, is that there are definitely situations where it was easier and better to just run rather than kill the monsters. They made it a lot easier. I wouldn't say easier, but a lot of people have criticized the remake for being, oh, it's more combat oriented, and it's like, you can still run from the creatures. The combat is just better designed, and there are certain situations where you can't avoid it, and I don't see that as a bad thing because it creates tension in certain places. We got another corpse that looks like James. Aha! An old map. So, I don't think I got this the first time around. I think I might have missed this corpse entirely. But yeah, this is a reference to the map in the original game and the stuff that you had to do there, I think. Or maybe it's just, again, time loop theory, another iteration of James. The interesting thing, I think I brought up in the first stream, is that from the very beginning you know that you're going to Rosewater Park, but in the remake you don't really know that until you complete the Jukebox puzzle. And yeah, James marks his map with all that stuff. So yeah, he's marked the line going through Woodside, and the question mark on Grand Market. Okay. We've got another note. It seems like they're attracted to light, louder sounds as well. If you want to survive, stay in the dark, stay quiet. Probably won't save you anyway. That's another thing that I really appreciated about Silent Hill aesthetically. And I think that is something that is a little more evident, or there's something about the... oh, come on. The ways that the creatures acted or reacted in the original game, it may have just been faulty technology, but sometimes you would come upon like a creature, like a mannequin or something, and it would just be standing there, not moving, and then you'd point your light at it and it would start moving. And I almost wonder if it was like, oh, they had to be triggered to activate them, just on a like mechanical level, and so it wasn't necessarily an intentional thing. But it gave me this impression sometimes, that, and then the ways that the creatures walk sometimes, that the creatures don't even care that you're there. They're just chilling in Silent Hill, and then you come up with a light, and it's like, ooh, light, must go towards the light, which in some ways is almost creepier than if they are fully motivated to attack you. This place, all it's ever brought me is pain and misery. And we're getting all our notes. I think this is the same motorhome that you go into in the Otherworld version of Southvale later in the game, and it has a completely different note in it. Another map, actually, with notes on it. Okay, Harris Street. Got our horror writer references in the street names, carried lovingly throughout all the games. Octo says, I think in terms of developing their behaviors and movements, it's all very intentional. Yeah, and especially in the remake, everything is so intentional. Did I miss anything over here? No, best auto parts, okay. Alright. Anything over here? Yeah, even in the remake, until they notice you, it's just kind of like they're just walking around doing their own thing. You wonder like how much consciousness they actually have, or if there's something else. So, what are the monsters supposed to be? That is a very good question. I will start by talking specifically about what they are meant to represent in Silent Hill 2. All of the monsters in this game, except for the bugs that you find, they're just supposed to be a reference to the first game. All of these creatures are meant to be references to something coming from... They are all created from James's psyche. Yes, Silent Hill is the name of the town. Oh, we've got some newbies in the chat. I love it. No, I love it. It's good to... I love introducing people to this series. But yeah, so in all of the games, the creatures that manifest in Silent Hill typically have some sort of symbolic representation that is connected to the psyche of one of the characters. In the first game, it is the little girl Alessa Gillespie, who has her whole story that we won't get into right now because we just do not have the time. In Silent Hill 2, they are all manifested from James's psyche, and again, major spoilers, this whole game is about James's guilt over what he did to his wife. His wife was sick for 3 years. Both of them turned into shadows of themselves by the end of her sickness. And after 3 years, he, for whatever reason, couldn't deal with it anymore, and he smothered his wife. And the impression you get from this game, once you learn more, is that after that happened, he threw her body in the car and drove straight to Silent Hill. Um, and you don't know for certain if the letter he got is a letter he really got, or if it's something that came from his own psyche. But he basically has a mental break where he just can't deal with the thing that he's done, and so he has a mental break, has what is referred to in clinical terms as psychogenic amnesia. He forgets how he killed his wife, and that is where the game starts. He's like washing his face in the bathroom, looks at the mirror, and then you see what the actor who plays James, Luke Roberts, refers to as the moment of forgetting, the moment where the amnesia begins. And he's like, I got this letter from my wife telling me that she's in Silent Hill waiting for me. I know that she's dead. He, at the time, thinks like, oh, she died of the disease. Then I gotta go there to find her. Later games suggest, or other parts of this game suggest that perhaps Silent Hill called him to the town. There are references in like materials that were released outside the game that suggest, oh, Silent Hill calls people who carry guilt in their hearts over something. I think there's more to it than just that, and I think with the remake specifically, they didn't want to be bound to just that. But that is part of the reason that James is here. Somewhere in his brain, he feels that guilt, and everything you see here is either everything here is either trying to help him avoid the truth or make him face the truth. So the lying figure here, it's got vibes of like a straitjacket, which could refer to the mental health troubles that both Mary and James went through while they were going through Mary's illness. Some people even suggest that Mary might have had a stint in a mental hospital, maybe Brookhaven, dealing with the depression of knowing that she was going to die from this terminal illness. It's also got these pumped up kicks because there's a lot of weird sexual imagery in the game that people either interpret in a lot of different ways. The creators, one of them talks specifically about how they tried to, like, throwing these kind of like sexual details into a lot of the creatures is, on a very basic level, just another way to unsettle the player. Like, you've got these weird sexual details that make it like kind of uncanny valley. Like, that's why is it disgusting, but also like has shapely legs or something? Why is its ass sticking out? What? No, please stop. So yeah, and then the fact that the creature like vomits this acid stuff out could also be a reference to Mary's illness, because it did seem to have respiratory symptoms, like we were talking before, with that note that references it like entering the lungs and stuff, and the little death rattle breath. Shapely legs are important for the plot, Octo. There are also people that think like all of the sexual details suggest like, oh, maybe James was sexually frustrated while Mary was in the hospital, and maybe he had a wandering eye. A lot of that stuff is up to interpretation. But yeah, the other thing that we can talk about with the creatures is a lot of this game is influenced by classic horror movies or horror novels, and one of the big influences on this game in particular was the movie Jacob's Ladder, where the main character is kind of going through a purgatory of sorts, and one of the characters references, say when you're going through hell or going through purgatory, there will be angels trying to like help you out, get you out of there. But if you aren't able to, like, if you're resistant to moving on, then you might see those angels as demons or devils. Um, and Masahiro Ito, the creature designer for Silent Hill, referenced that when he talked about what the creatures in this game represent to him. Uh, some of them might be trying to keep James from finding out the truth. Others may just be trying to punish him for what he's done because he wants to be punished. Um, and or some of them may be angels trying to pull him out of his personal hell. And we're at the dance studio, so there's something to look at here. Oh, come on. Nope. Quick time event. Ah. Another thing I really appreciate about a lot of the Silent Hill creature designs, a lot of my favorite ones at least, is that they are faceless. I think there's some reasons that might be specific to James, but I think making the creatures in this faceless, in all the Silent Hill games, most of them, faceless, does throw them even further into the uncanny valley. And there's the idea of the eyes are the window to the soul, and the fact that these creatures don't have eyes suggests that they are just soulless husks. So we're at the dance studio, the dance company, a new place that they added for the remake. Don't drag your heels, hit the dance floor. No partner, no problem. Singles, we'll pair you up. Now, first of all, this could be referencing the fact that later we meet Maria, Mary's doppelganger, who is also a manifestation of the town. And so it's saying like, hey James, we know you're single right now, but don't worry, we'll help you out. Join us every Tuesday, 9 p.m. But another thing with eyes here, the eyes are crossed out on the man's face, and you can't see the woman's eyes. But if you look even closer at the photo here, someone zoomed in on that and on Reddit, and I think I actually don't remember if they came concretely down on one side or the other, but those could very well be the like character models for James and Mary, or James and Maria. In fact, it looks like it might be Maria based on her hair and the fact that it looks like her jacket is kind of sticking out in front. Yeah, this is part of the reason I love the Silent Hill series. Is the whole series is based around this idea that Silent Hill is a supernatural town. There is some sort of supernatural energy, and whether it's due to these old gods that are referenced in the other games, or it's just a psycho-like place, like a place full of psychic energy, it gives the storytellers an excuse to make everything directly relate to the main character. So yeah, Clea, drug hotline, PTV. So the drug hotline, I mean, obviously it could be a reference to James's story, but there is also a history with drugs in the town of Silent Hill, like in the history of the town itself. In the first game, there is a drug reference called White Claudia, or PTV, and in the first game and in the third game, it's not so much in the third game, but in the first game, it is referenced as a drug that the cult in Silent Hill uses in their rituals. Like, I think it's another. In the first few games in particular, I think the original Team Silent really liked throwing in a bunch of different things as possible reasons for why the characters are seeing what they're seeing. So, like with the first game, there's an ending where once you beat the game, Harry Mason, it cuts to an image of him in his car with his head bloody against the steering wheel, suggesting like, oh, maybe the whole game was Theater of the Dying Mind. the White Claudia stuff might be saying like, hey, maybe all the stuff that you're seeing is just due to drugs. Um, I kind of like that they throw all that stuff in there because at the end of the day, the story, the like story at the core of these games, they are character stories. For the first game, it's a story of a guy trying to find his daughter. For this game, it is James Sunderland trying to find his wife and his relationship with her, and then the other characters that we meet here. Um, but yeah, specifically, a few other things specifically about White Claudia in the first game. Uh, Quick rundown of the first game. You're Harry Mason. You're in town on vacation, and you're driving to Silent Hill with your like 8-year-old daughter, Cheryl. As you're driving into town in the middle of the night for some godforsaken reason, you see a little girl crossing the road, and he slams on the brakes, gets into an accident, blacks out. When he wakes up, Cheryl is gone. And so the game is him trying to find his daughter, and then discovering, oh, there's another girl in town who looks just like her. Oh, no, wait, she looks a little bit older than her. Oh, no, wait, this girl is Alessa Gillespie, who has something to do with, like, the town's past. And you learn about Alessa Gillespie, this little girl who, from an early age, exhibited psionic powers. Like, they don't get into a whole ton of detail in the first game, but they, I think the creators of it were specifically like influenced by like Stephen King's Carrie. A bunch of stuff in these games is influenced by Stephen King. I honestly, I was reading the other day how the first game was initially supposed to be an adaptation of like a horror novel, but or another horror property, but they couldn't get the rights. And I'm thinking it was either like Carrie or The Mist. Probably The Mist because of how much the stuff in the original Silent Hill reminds people of Stephen King's The Mist. But basically, you learn that Alessa, because she exhibited psionic powers, the cult in town was like, oh, she will be the perfect vessel for birthing our god. One of the members of the cult was her mother, Dahlia Gillespie, who is like the biggest champion for like, yes, this plan, I want to do it, and is an awful mother. They try to do a ritual to essentially like impregnate Alessa, this young girl, with their god. It's kind of vague in the first game what actually happened, but Silent Hill Origins, the prequel, suggests that maybe it was Alessa herself who made the ritual go awry. She used her powers to like disrupt the ritual, and it set the whole place on fire. She ended up in the hospital with burns, and the reason that I'm telling this whole story is because she had a nurse in the hospital named Lisa. And Lisa is the most tragic character in the original Silent Hill, because when you first meet her, you meet her in the hospital, Alchemilla Hospital, where Alessa was interred after suffering all these horrible burns. And she seems like... the film does a little bit of a different take on it, where instead of Alessa being burned because the ritual went wrong, the movie is like, oh, the cult in Silent Hill is actually religious fanatics who are like, Alessa is evil and needs to be burned to cleanse her. And so in the movie, it's like they are specifically trying to burn her, like a burn the witch type thing. Whereas in the first game, it's like, no, they weren't trying to burn her. They were just trying to impregnate her with their god, and then she caused the fire that stopped the ritual and caused her own burns. But yeah, so she ends up in the hospital. She has this nurse, Lisa, who only gets like a cameo in the movie, but in the game, you meet her in the other world in the hospital, and she seems to be like the only normal person that you've met. Like there are a bunch of nurses in the hospital that you have to fight because they've got this weird thing on their backs, and you find Lisa and she's like, I'm so scared, what do we do? And you run into her several times throughout the game until finally she realizes, I'm just like the nurses out there, I just didn't know it yet. And she has a very tragic death scene. You learn later about her story where she was nursing Alessa, and like you find journal entries, I think, where she's like, we keep changing the bandages, but the pus keeps coming. Like this poor girl, she's not getting better. And she also references the drug. She says like need drug at one point, and you get through a few different notes, you get the impression that Dr. Kaufman, who is the head of the hospital and also one of the members of the cult, got her and probably a bunch of other people addicted to White Claudia or PTV or whatever it's called. So that is our Silent Hill lore dump on White Claudia. In this game, you find a bottle of White Claudia that will give you the Bliss ending, one of the new endings that they added to the remake. And we'll talk about that more when we get to it. But here is a photograph. I've been happy. These photographs are part of a big puzzle that you don't have to complete to beat the game, but I'm going to try and get as many of the photographs as I can so I can get the achievement for it. Basically, someone on Reddit figured it out. They each photograph has a number of like items or things that you can count on them. This one obviously has the 4 holes on the front of it, and if you count that number of letters in from whatever message is on there, like this is IVEB for at the beginning of bin, that's the 4th letter. And then put them in sequence with the numbers on the back of the photograph. So this is the 6th letter in the whole thing. It spells out a message, and that message spells, you've been here 20 years, which, again, could be another reference to the time loop theory. It also, I think, is very much supposed to be a reference to the fact that this game, the remake, came out 20 years after the original, and so it's kind of a subtle reference to that. Special care for dogs. Where are we right now? Okay, we're still on Neely Street. What do we got in here? Anything useful? Doesn't look like it. Andy's Tool Shop, world's finest Metal Gear and woodworking tool. Metal Gear being a reference to the Metal Gear Solid games. Little fun references like that in here. Silent News, best concept artist. Oh, I wish you could zoom in. I wonder if it has Masahiro Ito referenced on there. Got the Silent Hill Tavern. What do we got here on the board? Welcome Neighborhood Cafe. Another reference to the dog. There is a dog ending that you can get in this. We are not going for that ending, but I think we'll probably be coming up on the pet store soon. Dog ending is another one that you can only get on New Game Plus. Okay. We're moving up Neely Street. Windows to break. Old school computers. What's in that one? Got thrown in there. I don't know. I can't tell. More windows to break. Okay, we're coming up on our next thing. Here's that number pad that those notes from earlier were referencing. So we got checked from 0 to 4013. Took almost 2 hours. Where's the other one? Is it on the back? Flip. Yes, 4439. Okay. So, that was the last one you checked, so... where is my cursor? Oh, it's up there at the top. Is it 4444? Yeah, it is. And this is a place you don't have to go to, but it's a supermarket and has a bunch of ammo and stuff that you can get, and health drinks, which is really nice because I could use some of that. I do have the chainsaw, and that would make a lot of the combat easier, but it would disrupt the atmosphere quite a bit. Bullets. Okay. Alright. Anyone have any other questions about any of the stuff I talked about? Because I know I did a bunch of lore dumping there, and we got a quiet moment, so... Patient's well-being is in your hands. Yeah. Cleo couldn't talk about this in her playthrough because she's not spoiling the ending, but yeah. Patient's well-being is in your hands. Literally, your hands, James. Because you suffocated your wife with a pillow. Get a job at Brookhaven and you will never have to work a day in your life. Happy Burger. Yeah, Bloober, honestly. Okay, I think we can go through that front door once we've gotten all the stuff here. I saw you looking that way, James. We'll get there. There we go. Okay, I think that's all the stuff. Alright. Let's look at the map again. Double check to make sure we didn't miss anything on the outside of Grand Market here. Nah. Cat Street. Alright. So this will take us towards Woodside, which we already walked by, but I'll go that way just for good measure to make sure I didn't miss anything lore-wise. Oop. Gotcha. Got a little courtyard here of some sort. Where's this even going? The thing that that I've always appreciated about all of the early Silent Hill games in particular, is that it very much feels like a place that you could actually go to. Like, there's something that about the way that they designed Silent Hill that feels very grounded, which I think is helpful when you're telling a story that can get as supernatural and fantastical as it does. Something upheld. Main news. More references to the drug. No trespassing. Graffiti. Free. Is that a dog? Stop sign. Road closed. Where does that road go? Harris Street. Harris Street is off limits. Alright. Everyone having a good Wednesday evening? I'm having a good time. I already grabbed the note that was here. There's also a glimpse of the past over here to a location that was moved that we'll see later. This is Woodside Apartments. I don't think I got the glimpse of the past over here, actually. This is the place that we are doing this puzzle for to get the key to. But before I get that glimpse of the past, this dude just... Oh! Having trouble there? The photo in front of Woodside? I think I did. It's the one that was over here, right? Yeah, I think there was a photo over here, and it's gone now, because I grabbed it. Yeah, over here there is a glimpse of the past, a reference to the original Silent Hill 2. There's a puzzle in Woodside where you have to use like 6-pack of soda or something to dislodge stuff in the garbage chute and get a coin that you need for a puzzle, because that makes sense, sure. But yeah, they moved that location in the remake, but here's a little reference to that. I'm pretty sure this is also where you actually found the note about Walter Sullivan, who we'll talk about when we get to the apartments, which is just weird when I think about it now. But yeah, lovingly recreated. I already took care of that car. It knows what it did. Oh, that's one of the things I was going to talk about, just atmosphere-wise. The reason I brought up that Akira Yamaoka interview at the beginning of the stream was because you can kind of hear in the way that he creates some of these sounds in the soundtrack, how like he's got that sound that's like fading in, that higher pitched sound fading in, and some of the sounds he just cuts off, and it does leave you feeling unsettled. A lot of it is very atonal, as in it's not really meant to be a specific note. It's more just supposed to be a noise to make it less familiar, less like he's actually trying to create music. Lucky Jade Restaurant. Isn't there a way to get in here? I feel like there's a way to get in here, but maybe I'm wrong. Should I try the door? I should try the door, because then it'll cross it out. Yep, okay. What does that say? Office space for rent. James doesn't want to go back to the office. Toluca Times. James's occupation, as defined by the like deep Silent Hill lore. Oh, now it says you can smash windows. The smash windows tutorial is hilarious. I know we're at the travel agency, but I'm gonna take care of this guy first. Oh, come on, just leave me alone. Is there another one? What was I talking about? Oh, crap. I got distracted. We were talking about the travel agency, but what was I talking about before that? Oh, yeah. His occupation. As defined by the original Silent Hill lore book, is clerk. That's all the detail they give. James was a clerk of some sort, and later on in the game you do find references to him, like, there's just a random office space in one of the other world sections, and it's like, oh yeah, this is probably where James was sitting full of anxiety over what was happening to his wife. And it's a very, like, it is a typical office space cubicle and very lifeless. But here we have a nice little excuse to talk about more Silent Hill lore. because we're at the travel agency, and they are referencing a few different places to highlight in Silent Hill. Toluca Lake. Enjoy almost 60 acres of a picturesque retreat. It's a perfect romantic getaway. That is sort of a direct reference to the plot of Silent Hill 2. Toluca Lake is the lake that Silent Hill sits on, and Rosewater Park, where we'll be going later, has a pier that goes out on the lake, and it's where James remembers going to with Mary, and where we also meet Maria. These other places are all references to other games. Yes, even the lighthouse, Cleo. So first of all, Lakeside Amusement Park is referenced in in Silent Hill 1. I can't remember how much. I think you do go to Lakeside. Yeah, you do go to Lakeside Amusement Park in the original, but Robbie the Rabbit isn't part of it, and it might be where the game ends. I still haven't played the first game. I have a copy of it that I'm planning on playing at some point. If I can stream it, I'm borrowing a friend's capture card, so I could potentially stream it once I'm done with this. But yeah, I'm not as well versed in the first game. But you definitely go there in Silent Hill 3. Yes, it is the same park in 3. Spend a magical evening with Robbie the Rabbit, Kathy the Kitty, Huey the Horse, and Dawn the Dog. Fun times await. Robbie the Rabbit is the only one of Lakeside's mascots that you see in Silent Hill 3. And throughout the game, like when you're in Lakeside, you see all these like Robbie the Rabbit mascots costumes just lying around, but they are covered in blood, and so you're like, is that just an empty mascot costume, or is there someone inside? And I think Heather even looks closely and is like, there's someone inside there. Robbie the Rabbit also makes an appearance in Silent Hill 4. Your neighbor Eileen, who you can peek into her apartment through the wall. It's a whole thing. There's a lot of things about that game that are creeper-ish. Not the creature, the creeper, but like a creeper. But if you look into Eileen's apartment later on in the game, she has a Robbie the Rabbit doll. And then at an even later point in the game, she's not in the apartment. Robbie is just sitting on the bed, and he's facing away from you. And then at some point in the game, if you look through the hole, he will be turned towards the peephole pointing at you, and it is the creepiest thing ever. These last two places are direct references to the first game. The lighthouse, take in the view, let it take your breath away. Bloober, take your breath away. Suffocation, come on. There are ways to connect the lighthouse to Silent Hill 2. There are references to lighthouses throughout, and could be a reference to lighthouses are often used as symbols of relationships, and the other person being your lighthouse or that sort of thing. But there is a lighthouse in Silent Hill, and in the first game you have to go there to, Dahlia tells you got to go there to stop the seal of Metatron from being created or something. And you get there and she's like, oh, nope, you were too late. You got to go to this other place or something like that. And it doesn't really do a whole bunch. In Silent Hill Shattered Memories, which is a reimagining of the first game, you end up there at the very end of the game. And I don't want to get too deeply into that because Shattered Memories is a really interesting reinterpretation of the first game that, again, if I can get the capture card working, I would love to stream. It is probably my favorite of the Western-made Silent Hill games. And then at the bottom there, we've got Old Silent Hill. Venture off the beaten path and discover the hidden gems of Silent Hill, such as the beautifully preserved Balkan Church. The Balkan Church is a place you go to in the first game. It is where you meet Dahlia Gillespie, Alessa's mother, whom I was talking about before, who is a leader in the cult. And she is so wonderfully batshit insane. like you first meet her and she's just like, uh, your your I saw you coming. Your arrival was foretold by gyromancy, or something like that. And she just speaks in like this beautifully archaic, culty verbiage, and like she's a horrible person, but as a character, she's pretty fun. um, and yeah, I think that's all I have to say here. Another thing is, I think like the Balkan Church is specifically referenced as being a front for the cult. Like on the surface, it looks like your typical Christian church, but beneath is like catacombs that lead to the cult's church or something, or maybe the cult just straight up did their stuff there. Another interesting thing about when you go into it in the original game is there is a crucifix like you would see in like a Catholic church, but I'm pretty sure the like arms of it are broken in a way that's like really like not great. um, to suggest like, oh yeah, this place is desecrated. There's nothing holy going on here. All right. Moving on, Air International. Can't read any of this stuff. I think that's all we have to say about the travel agency. But yeah, a bunch of cool little references there. We're hiring. James, we finally made the big time. We can work at Quiet Cocktails and live out our days on a cocktail salary, whatever that is. We've got a fashion boutique. Got a nice little floral hat, a Sunday hat, I think you might call it. Dresses, blouses, hats, bras, jewelry is messed up. Oh, is this where you get the item for the UFO ending? No, I guess maybe not. Dry cleaners. Guys, there's so much symbolism about dry clean. No, there isn't. Not really. I'm sure you could make some sort of theory, but I'm not going to waste the time. Oh, the jeweler's next to the pet center, so still haven't gotten there yet. And we're at Groovy Music, one of the places we're actually supposed to be going to. I'm going to see if I can actually do a decent job with combat in here, because there's two lying figures. This one is already on the ground. We try to get these guys as soon as possible so they don't have time to get up. And there's another one coming out of the back door there. I'm gonna dodge. Ah, damn it. We're fine. Okay. Note. I'll read this one. Janitor came in the other day, drunk and in tears, had half a record with him, kept yelling, we gotta fix it somehow. So, clearly the guy they were talking about in Neely's bar. I was willing to do it just to shut him up, so I got up to get the glue from the cabinet, but then he realized he only had the one half, so he ran out. Can't do much about the record. Maybe ask around at Neely's next time you're there. Might be one of theirs. So if for whatever reason you didn't go to Neely's bar first, this is pointing you in that direction. Flip. That's not the back. There are a bunch of like fake music records in here and stuff that, like Locket, 80 dance songs. Locket's. I think like Cleo, you mentioned like Lockets do generally hold something secret or precious. Lockets are used in so many different stories. It could be a reference to Heather's locket in Silent Hill 3. Heather carries a locket with her in Silent Hill 3 that her dad gave to her, and it's another one of those weird things where like you don't realize you need it Like the game, I don't even know that if the game like tells you that when you're supposed to use it. But there's a point later in Silent Hill 3 where Heather starts getting overtaken by the weird dark powers of Silent Hill, but she remember you have to literally um uh, I generally don't think it tells you to open the locket, but you go to the locket, open it, and there is a bead of aglophidus in it. Aglophidus is a red substance in the first Silent Hill game that Harry is able to use to like decontaminate Sybil Bennett because she gets taken over by the weird power in Silent Hill 1. Um, but he throws a bottle of aglophidus on her and it cures her. Um, and so Heather is able to resist the powers of Silent Hill by consuming the aglophidus. And then some really awful shit happens that I'm not going to talk about right now because I do want to play Silent Hill 3 on stream at some point, and nothing can prepare you for what happens after she consumes the aglophidus. Um, you know what? Screw it. It like so. This is another thing about spoilers. My policy with spoilers is like some spoilers. Yes, they might spoil something, but if the story is good enough or if the spoiler is wild enough, nothing can compare to actually experiencing it. Out of This World magazine. I'll get back to the Silent Hill 3 spoiler after this. Out of This World magazine, special issue. Alien device found in local store. You gotta find the item for the UFO ending in a store. Bizarre findings on roof of local building. That was the roof of Saul, where we saw the Saul Apartments, where we saw the little eye. Prehistoric creatures spotted in local lake. That's another place where you're supposed to examine the gem. Paranormal activity in local hotel. Lakeview Hotel is the last place where you gotta examine it. You gotta see it to believe it. Basically saying, hey, look at the alien device, the gem, in these places, and you will get the UFO ending. Um, okay. So, at the end of Silent Hill 3, first of all, I love the fact that it is Heather's father who gave. There's the thing I love about Silent Hill 3 is the relationship between Heather and Harry, her father, and the fact that like it is her father who saves her basically from beyond the grave, because he gave her that locket with the aglophidus in it is such a beautiful moment to me. And so she consumes the aglophidus. And remember how I talked about how in the first game they were trying to impregnate Alessa with the cult's god? Heather is a reincarnation of Alessa that Harry receives in the Good Plus ending of the first game. At the end of the first game, you beat the final boss, it turns into this weird like angel thing, and it hands you a new child. He was never going to get Cheryl back because she was an incarnation of Alessa that Alessa sent out of the town to try to like preserve the good, like a part of herself, and then she called it back to stop the cult from completing their ritual and bringing their god back. So that was what drew Harry and Cheryl back to Silent Hill, was so that Cheryl could reunite with Alessa and they could stop whatever was going on there. So after you beat the final boss, Harry gets this baby. He initially is like, oh, it's just Cheryl again, and then he realizes, no, she is her own person. I'm going to give her a different name. Her name is Heather. Or he might rename her because one of the cult members tries to track them down, and he kills that cult member, and so, like, kind of a witness protection type thing, he's like, okay, your name is Heather now. um, but, yeah, so what Heather learns in Silent Hill 3 is that she is a reincarnation of Alessa, and the reason Claudia, the antagonist of Silent Hill 3, wants her to come to Silent Hill is to complete that ritual and finally birth the cult's god. So Claudia kills Harry, and Heather, and it is the reason that Heather ultimately goes to Silent Hill. Because when she first meets Claudia, she's like, I'm not going with you. And then Claudia kills her dad. And she's like, well, now I need to get revenge because I'm a spunky 17-year-old who isn't going to think this through. Uh, Face the music. Find the melody of your dreams and kick up your heels. Face the music. Death reference. Find the melody of your dreams. The melody that we're going to get at the jukebox. And kick up your heels. I'm going to kick up my heels and enjoy that melody when we get to it. So Heather's reincarnation of Alessa. She goes to Silent Hill, basically falling into Claudia's trap. But then when Claudia gets her into like this underground chapel of the cult, and it's like, finally, it's happening. Heather starts to like convulse and like double over in pain, but she takes the Aglophidus that her dad gave her, consumes it. The darkness starts to leave her, and she vomits up a fetus. It is disgusting, and I don't know how they got away with this in 2003, but they did. But it doesn't stop there. She looks down at this like weird malformed thing on the ground, covered in blood. It's kind of like almost like the Eraserhead baby or any disgusting fetus that you've seen in a movie or other media. It is that, but it's covered in blood and disgusting. And Heather looks down at it and goes like, there's your god, as if to say like, that's fucked up and like that's not much of a god. Then Claudia is like, no, we can't let God die. She goes over and she eats the fetus and transforms into the cult's god, and that is the final boss of Silent Hill 3. It is the wildest shit, and I kind of love it because I'm fucked up like that. It's like the way that like Cleo. We talked about I just referenced Cleo, and she's like, "Oh no, why are you bringing me into this?" We talked about on the Hannibal episode of the podcast about how like there's something phenomenal about over the top horror. At the end of Hannibal, it's like feeding a guy that has his brain exposed his own brain. There's something where it's like, that's if you're into that type of horror, that is what you go for, and you're into seeing things that you haven't seen before. And that's kind of how I think about that moment in Silent Hill 3. Because the other thing about those moments, like the moment in Hannibal, but also the moment in Silent Hill 3, is it is earned on a storytelling level. Like, even the Silent Hill movie, it's incredibly gory in a way that the games don't even get to at a certain point. But the thing that set apart that movie from a lot of other gory horror movies is all of it feels rooted in the storytelling. Like, yeah, like you gotta respect when they swing for the fences, I guess, Cleo says. And the end of the Silent Hill movie ends with Alessa, like, killing all the people who burned her horribly. And it's very gory, but it feels in line with what happened to Alessa. She was bullied, she was abused, she was burned as a witch, and she survived and suffered. And so it's like, no, you can kind of give it to her that she wraps a bunch of people up in barbed wire and squeezes them until they pop. But that's just me. Welcome to Silent Hill. Anyway, here are the items we came here for. It's glue and the rest of the record. And we're just going to put that stuff together now. So we've got a complete record now, and it's called The Long Way Home, produced by A. Conroy, published by I Love Groovy Music Productions. Yes. Cleo is referencing in the chat how in her playthrough she accidentally forgot to grab those items on her first time through. The thing I find interesting about this is that it is called The Long Way Home, because the theme that we hear when we play this in the jukebox is not called The Long Way Home on any of the soundtracks. I think the title makes sense, as in a thematic sense of like, oh, the long way home to Mary. If you think of it in that romantic sense of like James's wife being his home, and he's got a long way till he gets there. um, but yeah, I found that interesting. That looks like Afraid to Be Great. That TV looks like it's sitting in Brookhaven Asylum or something. Or a bathroom. Here. No. But, hold on. Got Nex or IX? I don't know. It's 9 o'clock. I don't want to spend too much more time in here because I wanted to try and end this session with the jukebox and talk about the music stuff there. Don't quit. Yeah, Cleo, you're right. This does kind of have a Bruce Springsteen vibe, and then the title does feel like almost encouragement to James, like, don't quit, don't give up yet. We've only just begun. What's that one say? Hello Monday? Interesting. Okay, we will be going to 10 p.m. tonight. So we're going to finish up our circumnavigation of South Vale, complete the jukebox puzzle, and probably end on the discussion of the music that we hear there. Speaking of music, music can bring you back to those wonderful moments you thought lost. Again, I really appreciate that. I feel like making this first puzzle, the jukebox puzzle, was kind of a way to center Akira Yamaoka's music even more in the remake than it was in the original game. Like, his music is so iconic, and it's one of the things that's often referenced as being like a reason that these games are so distinct from not just other horror video games, but other horror properties in general. So I feel like the jukebox was a nice little way to honor that and be like, hey, let's specifically showcase one of the beautiful pieces that Akira Yamaoka wrote in the original game, and also get him to do like basically like an alternate version, extended cut version, and turn it into a major theme in the game. So here's that glimpse that we saw earlier that was moved here. The door that wakes in darkness, opening into nightmares. When this world turns to the other world, this door will be open. We can't go through it now, but it will wake in darkness, opening into nightmares. And we've got some nice bloody handprints here. Okay, we got the neighborhood cafe. I thought I was gonna get well into Woodside. I'm not even... Well, I might get there. Anything back here? Ooh. Got bugs. I assume there are items back here, please. Got a laundry basket, maybe? Almost like a gravestone. Another bug. Oh, there's a health drink. Sweet. Garbage. Garbage. What is this the back of? Big J's. Oh, is this the back of the pet store? We'll go in there and get the note because I want to get all the notes for the achievement, but I'm not going to linger on it because we're not doing the dog ending for this playthrough. Impressive. Is that store just called Impressive? That's a lazy store name. Baby's Closet. I think there is potentially reference in some of the lore that James and Mary were trying to have a child and unable to. So there are also references to that in this. There's the blue gem used for the UFO ending. We unfortunately are not going to be doing the UFO ending because that would involve going back to Saul Apartments, and who has the time? Okay, here's the pet store. If you want to get the dog ending, you go in here. There's a note in here about something weird. Lost dog, reward $300. Adopt a friend. Read. We caught it near cats. We should have never brought it here. I don't know what to do. I know it's there, sitting and staring. Can't let it out. Can't walk away. Won't let me go. Don't look at it. Don't look it in the eyes. So either this is some horrific thing that they thought might be a dog that turned out to not be a dog, or it's just a reference to Mira from the dog ending. And it's like, oh, it's a cute little Shiba Inu. Oh no, there's something unnerving about this dog. Specifically in the dog ending, you learn that, oh, all the weird stuff happening in Silent Hill, it was the dog's fault. Don't think I broke into this police car, did I? Okay, we're gonna do this. We're gonna get this done by 10. We're gonna get the jukebox puzzle done. And we've got, what is this? Big J's. Another restaurant. More health drinks. Oh, I still gotta go to the Texan. That man was here again. I told him he'd been warned not to come here. He acted like he didn't know what I was talking about. Anyway, he got up and left. He didn't make any sort of fuss, but there's something about him that gives me the creeps. When I look at his face, it's like I'm staring at a mask. And there's something underneath, waiting to get out. I don't want to be there when that happens. Could be a reference to the janitor, could be a reference to James. I'm staring at a mask. Like, obviously masks provide things hidden. There's a lot that James is hiding from himself. Could also be a reference to the fact that, like, Pyramid Head wears a mask, and your new best friend. In the end, only a four-legged friend can truly help you make sense of things. Review the best stores for dog accessories. Find the perfect doghouse for your friend. Meet the cutest, cuddliest good boys around. You know, maybe we can do the dog ending, because that's telling you where to get the stuff for the dog ending. Okay. Frame rate! Motherfucker. Come on. Dodging. Oh, come on. Quick time event. Jeez. Where are you? Fucking A. Are we gonna catch up? There we go. Fucking A. Thank you, Moobot, for punctuating that horrible battle with a link to my website. Follow me there. I'm trying to blog from time to time there, like do more in-depth posts, but haven't had much time since the first full one I did. Okay, I think that's all the stuff in here. And that door is blocked, so I'll go out this way. Okay. Which way are we going? Cocktails. Yeah, we're still going this way. Italian restaurant. I think this is the phone you come to later for a puzzle in the other world. Okay. Accurate fabrication and welding, custom fabrication. That's probably a reference to something. This is where I came from, so I don't think I missed anything here. In fact, I'm just gonna keep going because I'm pretty sure I got everything that was down this road. Oh, and we were going to stop in the bookstore one more time because of stuff. Did I already get the coin at the Texan? I might have already gotten the coin at the Texan because I might have come this way first. No, wait. Maybe I didn't. Yeah, I didn't because the door's only slightly ajar. And the cash register's lit up to be like, hey, come here. This is where you need to go. Also, a creature's about to get up, but I'm not going to tell you that. Okay. We now have all the items we need for the jukebox puzzle. And we have somebody's ass to kick. Literally. Okay. Yeah, we're not going to linger too long in here. Oh my gosh, the fucking frame rate. It better not do this during the cutscene. That would be really unfortunate. Oh, body modification. It's different with the line figures around. Good point, Cleo. Oh, it's a delivery car for the cafe. That is, I guess I was going to say shaped like a hearse, but I guess this was kind of the style of car back then. What's this plate say? 3ADW764. Okay, I don't know off the top of my head what that might be. Another note in here referencing the scissors. I saw him again, or at least I think so. He says he didn't, but I don't know anymore. I'm tired. Can't find it. Doesn't matter. That scraping noise again. So Pyramid Head famously has the great knife, his big knife that he carries around. But it's actually one half of a pair of scissors, and James eventually carries the other half. Is there anything else in here? I don't think so. Okay, we're going to hit the jukebox puzzle by 9:30, and that will give us a half hour to talk about music and potentially get to Woodside. Yeah, going back in here real quick, because I didn't talk about this in the previous stream. In March of 1965, the town of Silent Hill was visited by the Maine Psychical Research Association. After thorough examination, a team of expert dowsers from the association concluded the area surrounding the now historic Wiltsey coal mine to be highly active. They also expressed their hopes for further research and exploration of the gorge. These hopes, however, were never fulfilled due to the location being restricted as a historic nature preserve, as declared by the Silent Hill Historical Society. Additionally, the idea was met with resistance from the local community, which claimed that the nature of the association's research would hinder tourist activity in the area. Questioning the credibility of our research and hiding behind day trippers seems like an excuse to prevent us from seeing what's really out there, commented one of the researchers. Unfortunately, none of the local representatives were available to comment on the matter. Editor's note: at the time of publishing, there exists no evidence supporting credibility of radiesthesia or proving effectiveness of any dowsing methods. Opinions expressed in the article do not reflect the author's views. So, I like this because it kind of lays a bit of foundation, especially not having the first game as a reference point, that, hey, Silent Hill is just inherently psychic for some reason. And that's why all this shit is happening. Okay. We're almost there. We already went in here. Did we already go in the American Cafe? I don't think so. American Cafe. Oh, that poster, it said, like, don't let alcohol shatter your life, referencing, one, the fact that James did develop a drinking problem. Most people, I think, think that he might have developed it while Mary was in the hospital. But also, nice little reference to shattering windows and stuff. Yeah, don't let alcohol shatter your life. Minus 30% off. What are they saying? Is the alcohol 30% off? Getting mixed messages. Okay. Okay. 9:20. We're gonna do this. Silent Hill Auto Parts. What's this? Silent Hill News. Something found in something. Center found in fan can. That's what it looks like, but that doesn't make sense. And then a boarded up store. Baby goods. References to babies. It was quite the grunt for you to then miss, James. Okay, and we're back to Neely's. So that has been our tour of Southvale and its many, many secrets. And now, I'm going to save real quick just in case, like, with the number of frame rate issues we've had, I just want to play it safe. And I'm going to grab a second save. Just in case I missed anything. And James, you've earned a health drink. So, now we have all the items for the jukebox puzzle. First thing we gotta do is, oh, something doesn't seem to be working right here because we need to be able to get that tray back out. So, we gotta rotate this so that it lines up with the record grabber. Click that in there, then rotate it the other way so that we can put this down, then rotate it back, and voila, we have our tray. And we have our record. It's all built up to this. Oh yeah, I think we can put the coin in right now. And it's lit up. But oh no, our record is in C2 and the 2 button is gone. There it is. And you know it's C2 because that tray is the only one that's broken. So now, the moment we've all been waiting for. What do I want to talk about before we get into this? What do I want to pay attention to? Maybe let's just play it, and then I'll remember all the things. I've got my notes in front of me, but we'll just play the piece and then talk about it.
whole day there. Just the two of us staring at the water.
Alright, we've got the Neely's bar key. But before we do anything of that, we are now going to take a moment to talk about the music. And for that, I will bring up my handy dandy little setup here that I have for showing stuff off on the piano. So, I've got my piano here, and we've got a new musical theme that we've been introduced to. So, in the original game, there is a piece called Magdalene, and it plays one time in the game. Halfway through the game, after the hospital sequence, or at the end of the hospital sequence, you are running away from Pyramid Head with Maria, this doppelganger of Mary, and she doesn't escape. You get to the elevator doors start to close, you try to hold them open for her. Maria is trying to get in, and Pyramid Head stabs her and kills her. The doors close, and James is left alone in the elevator, and this piece plays, Magdalene. Just a very simple piano melody. In the original, it doesn't even have those additional bass notes or the kind of like diversion from the melody. It just plays this 4 times in a row. And then does a couple of chords that, if I'm remembering correctly and I'm playing this in the right key, would be... I need to actually learn this piece. There it is. And it plays that, what I just played, twice. And it's a gorgeous piece of music. And speaking specifically to that original version, which is that you do get that version again in the same moment in the remake, and it's called what is it called? Magdalene's Grief or something like that. They came up with slightly different names for all the tracks that they re-recorded for the remake, so that they would be differentiated on like Spotify and stuff. What is it? Magdalene's Elusive Lament. And the reason I want to talk about that theme initially is to talk about it from a musical aspect. On the original soundtrack, it is the only track that is just piano. There are a lot of tracks that use piano, but they're often layered with other synth noises. They often have a lot more going on harmonically. And I think the reason that that particular piece was written that way for that particular moment is like it's just piano. There's nothing else, and it's a very simple melody. And it just has this vulnerability to it. There are a lot of ways the piano is used in Akira Yamaoka's soundtracks where There's a term in music in general called prepared piano, and typically it refers to like if you're playing on an acoustic piano, uh, like putting stuff on the strings to affect the tone somehow. Like sometimes it might just be like for some reason the thing that's popping into my head is uh, uh, like throwing like metal on the strings, like nails and stuff, to like give it a scratchier tone or something, or to like stop the notes from ringing out the way they typically would. It's basically an analog way to change the sound of a piano. Um, and it's often what I think of when I think about the different ways that Akira Yamaoka uses piano on his soundtracks. It has he doesn't always just use straight up piano. Either there's other instruments as part of the arrangement, or sometimes he produces the piano in particular ways. Like he'll make it sound like it's coming from a radio, or it'll have a warble on it or something. Different ways he manipulates the sound of the piano to distort it or make it sound creepier or give it a different quality. The same way a guitarist might use a bunch of different pedals to give their guitar different tones. And I think there's something very poignant about that, the fact that Magdalene, this theme from the original game, he doesn't do that at all. It's kind of this honesty, this vulnerability, that just this solo piano, this simple melody that doesn't even have too much additional harmony. Uh, it's so exposed. The thing that I appreciate so much that they did for the remake is they heard that piece and they were like, we can do more with this. We can turn it into a theme that carries throughout the game, because we already have the Promise theme. We even have what I think of as Angela's theme, the forest theme that plays in the graveyard and then again during Promise Reprise. But that piece only plays at the Magdalene piece only plays during Maria's death, and I think it is supposed to hearken to Mary's death as well, the way that every time Maria dies harkens to Mary's death. What they've done with the remake is they've introduced it much earlier, used it as a way to point James in the direction of Rosewater Park, so it's not just like, I think in the original game at the beginning James is like, our special place, do you think she means the park? And it's like, okay, that's an easy way to point the player in a certain direction. This, on a storytelling level, gives it so much more weight. Like, because there are there's like all this in the real world, all these studies that have been done about how music can bring back memories and help people remember. And in a game where James is actively, he has amnesia, and in some ways he's actively trying to forget, this is something that pulls him back and restores some of his memory and is starting to guide him in the right direction. And I think it's really interesting that it then breaks. The record breaks, and it's this idea of Cleo and I were talking about this in our email chain, I think, about how at various points throughout the game you can kind of question what Silent Hill is trying to actually do. It's like, well, Pyramid Head is trying to punish James for what he's done, but then you've got then you've got Maria, who's trying to be like, oh no, here's a new version of Mary, and then Pyramid Head kills her, and it's like, okay, so, and then you've got the monsters that attack James. Are they trying to keep him from learning the truth, or are they just trying to punish him further? And the thing that is beautiful about the Silent Hill games, and this idea of it being this place, this psychical place of psychic energy that manifests things on behalf of the people who are there, is that all of that stuff can reflect the psyche of the character, and humans are messy and they contradict themselves, and so there's definitely a part of James that wants to remember the truth and face it, but there's also a part of him that doesn't. And so I think that is part of why the record breaks. It's because it's starting to, James is starting to remember, And there's that part of his brain that's like, no, I want to stay in denial. I don't want to remember because that it's too awful to remember everything. And so I think that is part of why the record breaks beyond it just being a creepy moment to disrupt the poignancy of it. Um, Other things to talk about musically. So this theme, they took it and they turned it into a theme for Mary and Maria. And I think we'll talk about it more when it comes back with Maria. But another thing that Cleo and I talked about was how there is all this stuff in the game that blurs the line between Mary and Maria, where Mary is James's real wife, and then Maria appears to almost to be like, "Hey, you lost your wife, but I can be her. I can be better than her." And there is this tug of war in James's psyche of like, what does he really want? Does he want his original wife back? Does he want to face the truth, or does he want this other possibility that has been offered to him? This woman who looks like his wife, sounds like his wife, but is like the sexier version of her, the more alive version of her. Although even that is subverted in the Maria ending where they're walking back to the car and she starts to cough and he says, "You're gonna have to do something about that cough." And it is like such a dark, fucked up moment for so many reasons. Um, I'm gonna look at my notes really quick, but are there any questions that you had, Cleo, that I'm forgetting to talk about, or any questions that anyone else has about this specific piece of music? Um, Let me quick look at my notes. Yeah. Oh, that was another thing I wanted to talk about. This version of the Magdalene theme, Anam Cara, it's so okay. There's another thing to talk about. On the soundtrack, this version that we just heard is called Anam Cara, which is an Irish phrase that means soul friend. And first of all, I have Irish background. I love Irish stuff. I've dug into Irish mythology and stuff. I want to learn Irish Gaelic, even though it's not really as useful as other languages because they only speak it in Ireland. But you know, it's a cool language. Even it, all of its words are monstrosities of consonants and vowels. Um, but yeah, soul friend. I think the thing I like about that phrase is I don't think it specifically has to reference a romantic like relationship, but it works really well in a situation like this where it's, oh yeah, Mary, that was his soul friend. Um, and this was the first piece of music that they released for the new game. The very first, if I'm remembering correctly, the very first like teaser that they released for the Silent Hill 2 remake had this extended version of the Magdalene theme, and the moment I heard it, I was like, "Oh, oh, that." I knew that Akira Yamaoka had worked on it and had done the re-recording and everything, so I knew it was coming from him, and it sounded like his style, and I was like, "Oh, I." Whatever happens with the game, I think I'm really gonna love the soundtrack. And then to see that, like so many things in the remake, they were able to take that theme and be so intentional with it and intensify storytelling themes and musical themes and emotional themes. Uh, it was such a beautiful choice. And again, it was a nice way to center Akira Yamaoka's work very early on in the game and highlight it in a way that felt natural to the world. Which brings up another thing I was going to talk about with this music. I've kind of been looking at these music talks as a potential way to be like, hey, here's a way to talk about music theory by way of Silent Hill. There's a term used in media called a couple of terms, diegetic and non-diegetic. You may have heard it referenced in filmmaking, where it's like there, specifically when it comes to music, there is diegetic music, stuff that is playing in the scene, like a jukebox playing a song, a radio playing a piece of music, a woman singing a song on a stage. And then there's non-diegetic music, which is usually the movie's score. It's the stuff that the characters themselves are not hearing. This is a moment where we have a piece that starts out diegetic. We're hearing the song on the jukebox, and then it transitions into being non-diegetic. When we get the flashback to Rosewater Park, you can hear on a production level, like, oh, it no longer sounds like it's coming from the jukebox with that like crackly, the record crackle and everything. We're just hearing it as the music that underscores the flashback. Um, so that was a nice little thing that I wanted to talk about. Um, the power of simplicity I have written down here, like let me go back to the piano really quick to talk about that. There's like philosophy when it comes to melody writing that is just one way to write melody, but uh, the space between notes is called steps in music, and they're usually that's called a half step because it's two steps, and then this is a whole step. It's a full step between these two notes. This is kind of considered a half step because it's like, oh, this isn't a note that's natural to the scale that we're playing. If we want to demonstrate it in a different scale, we got whole step, half step. Steps are just the space between notes. When it comes to melodies, there is a line of thinking where, like, oh, melodies that have mostly stepwise motion are going to be very catchy, very easy to remember because they don't jump around. Like, if I play something that's like, sounds pretty, but doesn't sound like a melody that is going to stick in your head. But if I play something like the Magdalene theme, that is something that is going to be much easier to remember. And so, like, even on a like music theory level, we've got this idea of memory, a simplistic melody that is going to stick in your head. And for James, recalls this moment of happiness with his wife. And there's a power in that simplicity. There's a power in stepwise melodies. There are plenty of beautiful melodies that aren't just stepwise motion, but like as other examples of stuff like stuff that uses stepwise motion, a lot of the melodies in The Sound of Music. I remember my music theory teacher in college talking about how like Sound of Music has stepwise melodies all over the place. You got the hills are hold on. The hills are alive with the sound of music. Yeah. There's no big jumps between those notes. They're all right next to each other. And then do, a deer, a female deer, a ray, a drop of golden sun. Like, it's a really easy way to to get the ear used to something, or like to convey something quickly and have it be appealing to the ear. And you'll find in other places in the soundtrack, Akira Yamaoka will use like leaps between notes and irregular intervals between notes to unsettle or to make you feel unmoored in the oral landscape. Like the beginning of Promise of the Forgotten, when we get to that scene, it starts with some leaps like that where it's just like stuff like that. And it does kind of give you that feeling of like, oh, I'm not grounded in any particular place. But yeah, was there anything else I was going to talk about with this theme? Or do we want to try and get to Woodside? Last thing I was going to bring up that I have here in my notes is uh, one of the things that Akira Yamaoka has referenced as a big influence on his music. Like, there's obviously 90s industrial influence from like Nine Inch Nails and Portishead and the more industrial sounding tracks. But when it comes to stuff like this, that has a bit more of a traditional or classical feel, he specifically references Baroque music in one or two of the interviews he's talked about where his influences come from. And that influences his piano playing, but I think it's a very specific influence for him with when it comes to the Silent Hill music, because Silent Hill is so much about like the shadow side, the other side. There's the town as we see it, and then there's the other world. And one of the big things about the Baroque movement in music and art is this idea of, in philosophy, is this idea of like, oh, people have a shadow side, and they express that through art, through like chiaroscuro shading in paintings, where it's like you've got really bright stuff in the foreground and then really dark shadows in the background. You hear it in music where you will have like very bright, lively pieces contrast with really dark minor key pieces, and it feels very appropriate in a game that is in a story that is so much about like there being two sides to everything, there being like a surface level and a deeper level, that Akira Yamaoka would utilize the sensibilities of the Baroque era in the way that he's writing the music. And I think that's the last thing that I wanted to talk about with this particular music. Cleo, I know you've been waiting for this, so was there anything I missed or didn't talk about that you wanted me to talk about? No one's talked in chat for a while, and so I'm concerned that the stream might have broken or something. No, I think I'm still up. Okay. Let me know if there's anything else you want me to talk about. Otherwise, we will get back to the game and get ourselves to Woodside. So first thing we got to do is open this door with the key that we just got. Got a little mini puzzle to go past a point of no return. The final threshold. There's something in this room I need to grab besides that. Don't think so. Yeah, no, press X to climb. Interesting jacket. Yeah, so the second half of Anam Cara on the soundtrack does go somewhere else. Like we heard the first half of it in the jukebox, and then on the soundtrack it goes into this more intense part. That part of me wondered if it played during one of the stormy chase sequence sections. I can't remember off the top of my head if it does, but it references a few different things in that section. Specifically, it makes reference to the main Silent Hill theme that you hear on all the soundtracks, or basically all the soundtracks, including the first game. Let me play it on the piano here really quick. That is a theme that Akira Yamaoka wrote in the main theme from the first game and carried through all of the soundtracks as much as he could. Even the Dead by Daylight Silent Hill DLC has like the it has the Dead by Daylight theme. Akira Yamaoka arranged it, and it sound like it's got all of his trademark stuff, like the mandolin and like weird keyboard noises and stuff. And I think it even includes the Silent Hill melody theme in it. like as a counterpoint to the Dead by Daylight theme. Because he's just that cool. Okay. So this seems to be a culmination of the janitor's story. He came back after you left. It's fine. He didn't try anything. He just seemed sad. Mumbled something about getting out of town with someone. So maybe he did find Maria or someone else to go leave with. I wasn't going to let him drive in his condition, so I locked him out. His car should be out back. Maybe check if it's still there by morning. It's a greenish blue one. Plate number ending with 06, I think. Unfortunately, that person, that James perhaps, don't think he made it out of town. Anything back here? Looking at something, James? No. We're gonna get to Woodside, I swear. We got 10 minutes, we can do this. I'm gonna pull that age-old tactic of run away. Because my kill count doesn't matter for the Stillness ending. It's just getting those items that I need to get. And I would rather save my health drinks and bullets. Okay, we're behind Neely's bar right now. Yeah, it's so funny because a lot of people reference how like, oh, the old games were scarier because they forced you to run, and I'm like, I don't know that they forced you to run. This may be another situation where it's like you're treating a defect like it's a feature. Or, and I mean they were very scary for partly for that reason, but you get a little bit of that in the hotel when you have that one section where you can't bring any items with you. Is this where I came from? Just want to make sure I don't miss any items. Were you just looking at something, James? You were. Health drink. A ragged American flag. Feels appropriate. Okay. So now we're going to go into this courtyard. And I want to make sure I get everything here. That's where I need to be, so I'm not going to go there first. Oh, I remember you saying, Cleo, like, where do they come from? These dumpsters are blocking the path that you end up running down. After you pick up the item over there, they burst through these dumpsters, and that allows you to escape. Okay. Basketball hoop. KOHI 206. Eternally salty. Alright. Let's trigger this event and get our ass to Woodside. Yeah, that's definitely James's jacket. There's the sound of them coming out of the thing. Woodside Apartments. Let's get the hell out of Dodge. Is there anything you're supposed to be able to get during this section, or like you're just going through the area you've already been in, so see ya. Just past this intersection. Should be the way we're going. Yeah, and I did a pretty thorough sweep of everything, so I think we're good. And we're safe. We're trapped. Okay. We're gonna grab the map, and then we're gonna save, and then we're gonna call it for the night. Thank you everyone for hanging out for the stream tonight. I hope you enjoyed it. I know that wasn't perhaps as action-packed as the first stream, but oh, this is an important thing for the Stillness ending. So there are like no, not my controller being disconnected. There's a code that you need for something later in the game, and the numbers for it are like scattered throughout the world in obscure places. And I'm pretty sure this is the first one. It's a cool moment to end on. Why has 201 not been rented out for so long? There have been so many years since anyone lived there. I know they've never really checked out, but I think it's time to move on now. They're gone. Less than 3. Or, it's not written like a less than 3 heart, but 3 is one of the numbers that we need. So, if we're treating this as being part of the story that leads to the Stillness ending, I'm trying to remember what's in 201. 201, next map. 201, is that the apartment that we go through to get to Blue Creek? It must be. Okay, that would make sense. Yeah, it is. There have been so many years since anyone lived there. I know they've never really checked out, but I think it's time to move on now. Oh man, there is something heavy about this. The resonances of like, I know they've never really checked out. Especially if you're thinking about this in the sense of like, this is referencing like, there have been so many years since anyone lived there. It's been so many years since the first Silent Hill, the original Silent Hill 2 came out. And if you're thinking about this, oh, James has been going through this story over and over again. It's been so many years that he's been stuck there, and he's never really checked out. He's never really gotten over it or moved on. And this is trying to tell him, hey, it's time to move on. They're gone. That story is gone. Mary is gone. Well, that is, I think, a good moment to end the stream on. Thank you guys again for watching. And what was the most recent save? That one. I'll do a third save just in case. Next stream is going to be 2 weeks from today, so that will be when is that? March 19th at 7 p.m. Eastern again. We'll be exploring Woodside. We'll probably talk about the music that plays when you meet Eddie. We'll talk about the many references to the piano in a few different places. We'll meet Laura for the first time. And hopefully, if we do everything in a timely fashion, we will reach our first Otherworld section. And that will probably be the end of that stream. This is going to be, I'm realizing, a long playthrough, but I'm glad to have you guys here with me, and I think it's going to be a good time digging into everything there is to learn about the story and the music of Silent Hill 2. Cleo just put up her first commentary video of her playthrough of the game, where she has done so much research, and she's doing write-ups that you can find on Tumblr and on her Patreon. If you enjoy her stuff, subscribe to her on Patreon. And on YouTube, she has her playthrough and her audio commentary, where she does something similar to what I just did, but gets into a lot more of the nitty-gritty, like details and references in the different things that you find around town, and like another possible meaning behind Anam Cara and its use in this game, which I'll leave that as a tidbit that you have to go watch her video for. And yeah, she's just Cleolinda on YouTube. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, and have a good night. Take care. Please take care of yourselves. I'm doing my best to take care of myself as well. And hope to see you next time. Have a good night.